is the part where it gets hard. Hey, Wonderhussy here, hanging out in the tiny little ghost town of Kelso, California. Kelso is right smack dab in the middle of the ultra-desolate Mojave National Preserve, but it's also right next to the railroad tracks. So back in the day, it was actually a thriving railroad and mining town with a population as high as 2,000 people back in the 1940s. It even had its own jail, which you can see here. According to Wikipedia, this is what's called a strap iron jail, and it was mostly used to detain drunks. Anyway, the town hung on until the 1970s, at which time I guess it was known as the town without television, because even though there were still something like 75 people living here, I guess television signals were unable to penetrate this valley. So the few children that were living here were unable to watch television. What a tragedy. But when the railroad depot closed down in 1986, the town eventually dried up. And now the restored depot serves as the visitor center for the Mojave Preserve. There's a museum, a gift shop, restrooms, and drinking water, but that's about it. There's no gas station and there's not even any cell signal. So don't come to Kelso expecting to get a room for the night. All you'll find here are abandoned buildings, and there's not even that many of those left. When I first came here, there was a really cool old abandoned farmhouse at this site. Memories! Anyway, Kelso is an interesting little spot, but my favorite thing about it is a few miles down the highway. The dunes! The Kelso Dunes are one of my favorite dune fields in the entire Mojave Desert. They're not as big as the Dumont Dunes or Big Dune up by Amargosa Valley, but there's a couple of things about them that set them apart from other dunes. First, they're closed to vehicle traffic, so you don't have to worry about getting run over by a dune buggy if you just want to explore the dunes on foot. And because these dunes are closed to vehicle traffic, you can camp out in absolute peace and quiet under the stars without having to suffer a bunch of loud music and rowdy beer-swilling partiers. Now, I've been known to make a pretty big ruckus myself, but there's a time and a place for that, and sometimes you just want to camp out in peace and quiet. And if that's your jam, then check out the Kelso Dunes. The other noteworthy thing about the Kelso Dunes is that they're what's known as booming or singing dunes. These are dunes that make a low-frequency rumbling sound when you slide down them, thanks to a combination of low humidity and the size and silica content of the individual sand grains, so that when they rub against each other, they produce some kind of friction or vibration that supposedly creates a sort of rumbling sound. There's only about 30 to 35 sets of singing sand dunes in the entire world. And I'm lucky to have 3 of them, more or less in my backyard. The Kelso Dunes are only about 2 hours from Vegas. The Eureka Dunes in Death Valley are just a couple hours more. And then Sand Mountain up in Fallon is only about a 6-hour drive. There's even a booming dune in Namibia where, coincidentally, I happen to be going later this month. So hopefully I get to check that out and compare the sound it makes with my home dunes. Anyway, I hiked these dunes a few years ago with my sister to slide down them and hear the sound. And to be honest, I was slightly underwhelmed. I was expecting some kind of super dramatic didgeridoo type sound, like but all I remember it making was a really low frequency rumble that you could barely hear. Either way, it's a killer workout to hike to the top of these dunes. I mean, I think it's only something like 650 feet to the top of the highest peak, but for every step you take, you slide back down half a step. So by the time you get to the top, you burn something like 100,000 calories, and you should be able to crack a walnut between your butt cheeks. Anyway, booming noise or not, I figure since I'm in the area anyways, I might as well hike all the way to the top and then see if I can pick up any audio as I'm sliding down and see if we can hear that booming sound. I mean, I need a workout anyways. Okay, I think last time I did this, it took me about 45 minutes to get from my car to the top of the tallest dune. So let's see if I can beat that record. It's 6:01. So let's see if I can get to the top of the dune by 6:45 or sooner. I'm just doing this hike in flip-flops because it's pretty soft sand and I'm probably just gonna slide down most of the way anyways. There's no crazy cactus or rocks or anything. It's a pretty chill hike. I mean, you can see the trail down here is just hard-packed sand. And then as we get closer to the bottom of the dunes themselves, it'll get a little bit deeper, but it'll still be really soft. Okay, I'm really hauling you-know-what to get to the top of this dune and break my record, but I have to stop and show you something. I can never be in too big of a hurry for a nature break. I mean, look at these awesome little, I don't even know, poppies that are growing here. There's a bunch of them. I mean, this part of the dune field, oh gosh, there's a name for dunes that have vegetation growing in them. They don't move as much because the roots of all these plants hold them down. But as we get farther up onto the really big dunes, you'll see there's no vegetation whatsoever. It's crazy. Okay, you can see now the sand is getting much deeper and we're still like way far from the actual dunes themselves. But the sand is much softer already and finer than it was at the beginning of the trail. And I think I might just take my shoes off altogether and hike barefoot. It seems like it'd be easier. Much better. Okay, I'd say we're about maybe a quarter of the way now. You can see the car way back there at the trailhead. So we've come all that way. But then look where we're going. We still got a ways to go. And what's interesting is I think there's somebody at the top. I'm gonna zoom in with my crummy digital zoom here. Looks to me like there's somebody sitting right at the top there of that dune. So I don't know if they'll still be there when we get up there, but if they are, there goes their peace and quiet. Okay, we've started to ascend into the lower part of the dunes, and you can see, especially because this time of day, all these really cool shadows and patterns. Like those are blown by the wind, those ripples. And then, well, it looks like, oh gosh, it looks like there's all kind of little creepy crawlers that have been out here walking around, crawling around. I mean, that there, I'm not sure who made that track, but I do not want to run into him. So I gotta make sure I get to the top and back to my car before it gets dark. Yikes. Look how cool this one is. This plant here made a line in the sand from blowing. Just the wind blowing it back and forth like a compass. You know, like back in geometry class when you use a compass to make a perfect arc. Nature's compass. Oh, wow. This is a great time of year and time of day to be doing this. I mean, it's April 1st and it's about, well, it's 6 p.m. when we left. Duh, I told you already. So it's not too hot and there's a really nice breeze. There's not a lot of people here, so it's just the perfect, well, it's the perfect workout. You know, I enjoy this much more than I do slaving away on a treadmill at the gym. You know, if these dunes were just a little closer to my house, might hike them every day to stay fit. Wow, check out all this vegetation though. It's a trip. We got so much rain this past few weeks. There's all this little green grass growing up right from the sand. I mean, look. It's like green grass growing directly out of sand. I don't know if there's like dirt way down below or if it gets all the nutrients it needs from sand and sunshine. Interesting. Okay, you can see the sun went down behind that tallest dune, so gotta hurry. But the good news is we're almost there, but can't get too cocky because this last part of the hike is the toughest. I mean, right now I'm kind of walking along this ridge so it's somewhat hard packed. But once I get to that deep side, whoa, it's gonna be rough. And I'm already out of breath. Let me check the time. Oh, it's 6:27, so yeah, we've been gone 26 minutes. And that was with stopping to shoot stuff. So I think we're making pretty good time. But like I said, I might get slowed down up here. I feel like that Led Zeppelin song, Kashmir. Da 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 da. Or maybe this one. Caravan, little jazz song. Almost there. Wow, look how cool it is here. I don't know why it's all black like that. It's beautiful. Like these weird little black patches here and there. Not sure what causes that. It might be because it rained recently, and frankly, that's actually good and bad for this video. The good is because it rained recently, I guess the sand is maybe a little bit more hard packed, which is why I'm making so much better time than I did last time I did this. But if the sand is wet, I think that makes it less likely to make that booming sound, because if you remember, the reason it makes that sound has something to do with low humidity levels. So I guess we'll find out. I mean, you can see my feet aren't even really sinking into it, and I'm at a pretty decent incline. If you look, well, I don't know if you'll be able to tell. You probably can't tell. But we're going up a pretty steep incline. I'd say like 30% at least. So it seems to me like my feet should be sliding back much more than they are. Okay, you guys, we're almost to the top of the ridge. Now this isn't the highest point. My plan is get to the top of this ridge and then walk along the ridge to that high point. But this view is probably gonna be amazing. Are you ready? Oh my God, look. Whoa, more dunes. Oh. This is the part where it gets hard. You guys, these sand dunes are only 2 hours from Vegas. I don't understand why there aren't more people here. You know, why is everybody hanging out at Carlos and Charlie's or playing video poker when they could be out here in the middle of all of this? I will never, ever understand people's motivations, but hey, different strokes for different folks. You know, I do a lot of stuff that people think is weird, so I shouldn't judge. Go ahead, play video poker. You're subsidizing my property taxes. Okay, you guys, look. We're almost there. The very tippy top. Woo! We did it. Oh, let me check my watch. 6:39. That means we did it in 38 minutes, which is 7 minutes faster than my previous record. And that was with stopping to shoot video. But like I said, I think partially it was due to the fact that the sand is slightly damp, so it's easier to climb up, but don't tell anyone. Okay, now that we're way up here, we gotta take advantage of this amazing viewpoint and do a panorama. Okay, way back there you can see the trailhead, and then down there is the campground, or the camping area. And then as we pan around, now we're looking towards LA, Barstow, I guess more specifically. Sunset's gonna be awesome. And then this way, well, that's the Mojave Preserve in front of us, and then I guess beyond that, that's like the dry lake bed outside Baker, I think. I think that's Baker because the road from Kelso to Baker is called Kel Baker, and we're right by Kelso, so that makes sense. And then panning onward, more of the Mojave Preserve, and you can see, maybe you can see, way in the distance there's Kelso, where we just were with the depot. And then back around to the parking area. Oh wow, I feel like Lawrence of Arabia. Hussy of Arabia. Man, I'd love to camp up here sometime, but lugging all your gear to the top of this would be gnarly. And what's more, it'd be pretty windy up here. All right, well, I've messed around up here long enough. It's getting chilly, it's starting to get dark, and we need to slide down this dune and hear if it makes any noise. So, man, I'm just wearing shorts and a sports bra, so I'm probably gonna get sand in all sorts of unmentionable places, but hey, I think it's worth it in the name of science. I'm gonna sit down on the dune and I'm gonna slide down, and I'll put the camera real close to my booty so you guys can maybe hear the booming sound. All right, ready, set, go. Oh man, I'm not sure you can hear that. In fact, I'm almost positive you won't be able to, but hey, find out. But I could actually hear kind of it was like more like a squeaking sound. Oh, I just heard it again. Like a very low frequency rumbly. Well, I don't know how something can be low frequency and squeaky, but it was just sort of like a, I don't know if you've ever walked on sand at the beach and it does that squeaky, I don't know, you know the sound. Not very loud, and it certainly didn't sound like a didgeridoo, but it was pretty cool. Man, look how much easier it is coming down than it was going up. There's the line my butt made. Now we gotta slide down all the way to the bottom. If I had a cardboard box, this would probably go faster. But as it is, I'm just sort of scooting along. Like I said, all my cracks and crevices are going to be full of sand. I'll have to change my name to Sandy Bottoms after this hike. Man, I mean, if this was the movies, I would slide right down instead of scooting like this. I feel like a dog that has diarrhea. You know, they scoot their butt on the carpet. Whee! It is fun. You know, like if you had a snowboard, like at the Great Sand Dunes National Park in Colorado, I camped there once, and you can actually rent snowboards. Well, I don't think they're even actual snowboards, they're special sandboards. I don't know what they call them, but boy, you can get to the bottom of this in no time on one of those. Look how much easier it is walking down. Be down in no time at all. You can see the color of the sand that I'm kicking up is darker, so it does kind of seem like it has more moisture in it. Maybe that's why I didn't hear the booming sound as loudly. I can feel it though. I can feel it sort of squeaky vibrating with every step. It's cool. Okay, we're down from the top and we're coming back into those lower reaches of the dune field. Still got plenty of daylight, but it's fading fast. And it sure would be nice if I was camping over there and could go on over and make a campfire and have a nice hearty bowl of Frito pie. I could beat up some Frito pie now. You know what would be super cool is to camp here under a full moon and hike to the top under the full moon. That would be amazing. Or you know what would be really cool is to hike up to the top during one of those meteor showers and watch the meteor shower from up there. That'd be amazing too. Whew. All right, I'm not quite back to the car yet, but I figured I should probably shoot the wrap up before it gets too dark. So it's like 7:20. It'll probably be 7:25 when I get back to the car. So about 10 minutes faster going back. Makes sense. I've managed to shake most of the sand out of my crevices. And I'll get the rest out when I go home and take a nice hot shower. But first I gotta stop and get something to eat because I am starving. There's nothing like a good hike up a sand dune to work up a gal's appetite. Well, you know, I suppose I could always just eat a few walnuts